Yes, I did another episode of Annie Mascola's People Are the Enemy podcast. Check it out. We discussed albums. We each picked an album for the other that the other person didn't know. So I picked for him, for reasons that I explained in the podcast, Frank Sinatra's Watertown, and he picked Laurie Anderson's Big Science, and we each listened and compared notes and what we thought and so on. So check it out if you have not. Maybe even listen to the albums first and then check it out. I don't know, however you want to do it. Andy's show is great. It's up to episode 169. That's the one I was on. So yeah, it's a good podcast. I think it's one of the few podcasts that I'm going to be following from now on, because I used to listen to quite a bit of podcasts, but I kind of fell away from it. But yeah, any podcast that is wild enough to have me is definitely one of my favorites. I have to say I really love the podcast format. It's really fun. Also, the fact that I'm guesting on other people's shows is great, because I just have to show up and they do all the heavy lifting. And yeah, if Andy or anyone else who has a podcast wants a guest for whatever reason to discuss whatever, feel free to invite me. The answer is most likely yes. As I continue my adventures in online content creation and so on, I want to share this idea that I was thinking about. Years ago, I was doing public speaking classes kind of thing, and one of the people that I was kind of studying how he gives a speech was this guy, Sean Stevenson. If you don't know who he is, he's no longer alive. I recently learned that he died in 2019, which unfortunate, because he is such a powerful public speaker. I'll link below to one of his speeches that, yeah, he's an incredible guy. But unfortunately, he had a lot of health issues. You'll see in the video he talks about it. His idea was like, you can always find excuses for things if you want. But I've kind of decided to reverse that. And whenever I'm trying to do something, whether it's online or whatever in real life, I ask myself, not like, what's the excuse for not doing this? Because if you want an excuse for not doing something, there's plenty of excuses. There's no shortage of that. But I think it's better to look for an example, a counterexample, that this is possible, that this can be done. For example, like a lot of times when people talk about doing art, you can say, oh, I'm too old to do that. I should have started when I was younger. A good example, and this comes up a lot, is Grandma Moses, who didn't really start painting, I think, until she was like 78. Maybe she painted earlier, but she didn't really start pursuing it as a career. I don't know the details, you can look it up. But the point is, she started late, she still was very successful. I've been watching this BFF kind of video podcast as well, that is, a lot of it doesn't even really interest me, it's just celebrity gossip. But I'm fascinated by the format, that they can talk for 45 minutes about, one of the guys had a breakup. It's interesting too, that it's two guys and a woman that, it's just an interesting mix of people. The guy, he runs Barstool Sports, I think it's called. He's in his 40s, and he's always harping on how he's too old for all this TikTok gossip and drama. And then another one is Josh Richards, who's a TikToker. And then the woman, Brie, I believe her name is. So it's an interesting mix, but I feel like I'm sort of a cross between the two guys, in that I'm an older guy, and I'm also... Josh talks about how he's really thin. I'm really thin. So I'm like, I could use these as an example, because they're super successful. So don't let being old and having Holocaust thin arms like me be an excuse. I'm trying to say that whatever you're trying to do in the world, this is a time of great possibilities. Before you go, I want to give you one more tool, a mnemonic that I learned long ago. A mnemonic just means a memory device that's easy to remember. So it's SW, 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 and what it stands for is some will, some won't, so what? Someone's waiting. So think about that. If you're trying to get a job, or you're trying to get a date with someone, or you're trying to audition for something, and whatever, that's, you're gonna have to go through that period of rejection, but get over it, because at some point, someone out there is going to connect. I hope this tool helps you with whatever you're pursuing. And then finally, I just want to mention that I have a tarot video coming very soon. Maybe in the next few days I'll have it done. And it has a lot of, I don't want to tease you too much with it, but it has a lot of amazing content, and a huge, huge announcement. So be there for that.